Welcome back for the final time to the 2025 ProFlex Manx Rally, round 2 of the Protyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship. We are in the final stage of the day, the Baldwin stage for the second running here at Brandywell Cottage. What a place to be, one of my favourite places in the world. We're going to kick off with Dave Berry's clips from the first stage, Axenfeld, this morning, where we saw Tim Cole, Gary Lees and Harry Stubbs all have very similar offs on the junction right. Quite unfortunate ones, more so for Tim Cole, who couldn't go any further. The other two did manage to get going again, but as you can see, nasty offs. Thank you to Dave. To Facebook, so we put a link on the Facebook page, and hopefully you're tuned in on specialstage.tv or on the YouTube channel. But you can see the damage that was done on that corner earlier. Thanks again to Dave for sending those in. We've got just over 12 miles left in this final stage of the day. Andy, be a brave man to bet against Gary Jennings and Rory Kennedy. They have come here and they have absolutely blitzed these stages on the Manx Rally. 20 years since Gary was last here in the Works Mitsubishi in the BRC years. He pulled that 43-second lead back to 55.3. Just as I said earlier, had a little bit in reserve and used it to just increase that gap again. From Jason Pritchard and Phil Clark, who were on a big charge earlier, and perhaps just made Gary and Rory have to change their game plan ever so slightly. We're going to be live right the way through this stage, right through until the last car through. If you saw the last cars through on the last stage that we did, I was pleased to get a bit of a moment to share with Ian Robertson in the Glorious Avenger and Dave Parry in the sweeper car, the Sub 99, which is the Pro Eklund Stig Blomqvist replica car, which if you've been here watching in person, you would have seen over the weekend. If not, you won't have seen much of it, so it's nice to be able to spend some time with those two, as you see Jason Pritchard and Phil Clark through the stage. Only one camera in this final stage due to logistics. Two of our crew had to jump on the early ferry and head back across so they can film tomorrow. So it's Wayne and myself here at Brandywell Cottage, and the live camera is no more in Neil and Rob's Fiesta Rally 2, unfortunately. But we enjoyed it while it lasted, didn't we? We were only intending ever to go live yesterday for a test in the first stage that we did. The fact that we managed to leave the camera live and just tune in whenever the car was in the stage. It's been a bit of a bonus, really. And we're quite chuffed about that, aren't we, Wayne? So, interestingly, people asking on the Welsh Rally Championship coverage earlier if you had a live camera in. So already something that you guys are asking for. So we'll do what we can to do the same again at some point. Iconic scenes, rally cars at Brandywell Cottage, as Sam Toozle and Max Freeman, who have been fast this weekend and have really showed us that they wanted a big result here on the Manx, and at the moment it is looking like a podium overall, and a good haul of points for the Protyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship as well. Fair bit of smoke up on the top here. Maybe just sort of had a half spin into the bank. A bit of an oof and some dust in the air, but nothing more than that. Dave Cram on YouTube telling us it's an iconic location. It is an iconic location indeed here, isn't it? Brandywell Cottage. Alison Toozle on tenterhooks. 16.9 seconds the gap between Jason Pritchard, Phil Clark, Sam Toozle and Max Freeman. But Sam and Max have got to keep an eye behind them. And Mark Kelly will that piece as well. At least one eye. There's a man who dropped down the leaderboard a little. We haven't been in touch. We haven't found out what's gone on there. But currently down in 6th place, 1.2 seconds behind Hugh Hunter and Andy Marchbank coming into this one, who themselves were 2.2 down on Mark Kelly. it's still going to be a close finish, and there is still a chance for a fair bit of action and place swapping to go on. Dean Roskell on the stream, pushing Roski, good look. Patrick Lee, meanwhile, is cheering on Gary Jennings. If you got any money on that one, Patrick, if you had any money on it before this weekend, then you must be very happy indeed. Because what a result from the Irishman. Still got it, hasn't he? 20 years last time here. And let's be honest, he hasn't really ever looked like being anywhere but the top step of that podium, has he? Here's Hugh Hunter. Andy Marchbank alongside. Really got on the pace this weekend. As I say, 2.2 back from Mark Kelly and Will Atkins ahead, which would make for a championship podium position, not an overall rally podium position, but Jennings not registered for points. Means that Jason Pritchard, Phil Clark are currently in the maximum points paying position for the championship. Dave Cram, no, you must have missed. I was just talking about that. No in-car on this one. We only intended on using the live in-car as a trial on yesterday's first stage where we were live. So we've had a bit of a bonus run with it, being able to use it on the rest of the stages as well, but we didn't have enough time to get there and change the batteries ahead of this loop of stages, so unfortunately no camera in that car. But the technology that Wayne Golding has developed is working, so look out for some more of that. Mark Kelly, Will Atkins then on for a championship podium. Richard Glendinning, I know what you mean, the volume on YouTube is lower, isn't it? And the adverts come on, it just startle you, doesn't it? No, apologies, Facebook is not playing ball. Nothing we've done, we just can't connect to it. Just want to disconnect, and we've connected when we've been live in other locations before, so it's not that. But it's it has been a really good weekend of live rally action, hasn't it? So I'm going to flick to the stage positions, and let's have a look and see what we've got. Stage 18 is the time that we're looking for then. Rally's got it first, come through. Gareth Minmer, Barry McCartney, they've been quick today. Eighth overall coming into this, and on a leaderboard like we've had this weekend, they were quite happy with their pace. Likewise, Ryan Loughlin and Aaron McLaughlin. Strong Irish contingent here on this year's Proflex Manx Rally, and it's been great to have them in the fight, and you know, I'm not sure that some of the other competitors would agree, seeing as the fastest Irishman is about to win the Manx Rally. I'm only a little bit disappointed we're not going to get back to the grandstand for the celebrations, because I reckon Gary Jennings is going to be pretty pleased with himself. David Wright, Jane Nicholl. There's been times this weekend to almost get air coming up the junction at the top of Brandywell. There have been times this weekend where David and Jane have been fastest through the stages and have looked like clawing their way up to challenge for a victory, but it wasn't to be. But I'm pretty sure they will be pleased with what they've done this weekend. I don't know if you can see on the camera, I think you can, there's a lot of spectators joining us here. You won't be able to see behind us on the hill, but the hillside full of spectators. Hello to Elwyn Manuel, who was up there. Sent us a picture of the special stage van in position earlier. Jimmy Anderson has enjoyed the coverage this weekend. We've been pleased to have you along. Thank you. Kevin Massey, likewise. Barry Jessup watching from the Forest of Dean. We hope you've enjoyed the coverage of the Pirelli Welsh Rally Championship with Phil Bramwell from the Carlisle Stages Rally, and we hope you'll be tuning in tomorrow for the SMC stages from Anglesey for the final round of the Protyre Circuit Rally Championship, and the first round of the Mini Rally Challenge. There is some damage, isn't there, showing on that Hello. He's done that since we saw him this morning then, hasn't he?
Got a rear puncture as well on the other side.
And a rear puncture on the other side of the car, so having said what I just said, coming into this inside the top 10, I think Aaron McLaughlin and Darren Curran are going to find themselves tumbling down the order a little bit. Dean Roskell, hard luck, says to Neil. Yeah, it's been a tough weekend for Roski and Rob Fag, hasn't it? Smelly Hippie on YouTube. I love YouTube names. They were in this spot last year and it was cold. It must be cold. No, it's not that cold. It's a bit windy, a bit chilly in the wind, but it's been warm all weekend and I can't complain. So Ryan Loughlin then, Gareth Doherty, that pair have been really fast this weekend. Really chuffed to see their progress, and it's always so good to see new names fighting at the top of these events, and we have managed to persuade a couple of them, of course, to register for the championship, so a couple of new names to be fighting there as well into the rest of the season. And it's going to be a good season as well. I've got a feeling about that. 2 rounds in, already it's very difficult to call anything like a top 3 challenge, isn't it? The top 10 all very close here in the Protyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship. Just waiting for the times to drop through. Alright, stage 18. Not showing time, but we'll get them any minute now. Steve Wood, Kenny Hall. Came here 8th overall in the championship standings. It was 2nd overall for them on last year's Manx Rally. Unfortunately for them, nowhere near that pace this weekend. Just coming into this stage outside the top 10 leaderboard overall. It's a great place to watch rally cars, this. Whether you're watching on a screen or whether you're watching in person, I'm sure you'll agree. Here is a man who has been absolutely on it this weekend, hasn't he? Gordon, Hannah Morrison. And his cheekiness as well, I've quite enjoyed. Charlotte McDowell has been alongside him this weekend. Previously, we've seen her in with Joe McYand in the Subaru, but it's been really good to see those pair together. And as I say, that cheekiness between Gordon and Hugh James this weekend. Although I'm sure today Hugh would have quite liked the times to be a little quicker. Catherine Nichols says, thanks for not jinxing David and Jane. See you on the Jim Clark rally where my late husband and Jane's dad is being honoured. Yeah, I did pay tribute to Jane's dad as well. We heard the sad news. Sorry for your loss. It was really nice that we'll all get to celebrate him on the Jim Clark. But yeah, be very careful not to jinx them. There's Hugh James then, Lewis Sim alongside. A fast weekend for that pair. Charlie Master, what do the times mean, being 10, 10 and 11? I don't know, mate. I'm very careful where I can. I try not to criticise the time sheets because there are some very hard-working people behind the scenes who make that happen as quick as it does and as reliably as it does. But every now and again, you get an anomaly like that. But the times are now up. And it is Jason Pritchard and Phil Clark who have taken the fastest time through that stage. Gary Jennings, you heard him earlier on tell us in Dog Mills that he was actually going to back off and save the car. Oh, he didn't get that chance because Jason Pritchard came on strong, so perhaps in this last stage he just has. I'll tell you what, it's a heck of a chunk, 16 seconds or so that Pritchard has taken out of Jennings. Second fastest through there, Mark Kelly and Will Atkins. perhaps a sign of what might have been. But at the moment, that would put Hugh Hunter into an overall podium position, dropping Mark Kelly and Will Atkins back, wouldn't it? Or would it? Hugh Hunter, Andy Marchbank, 3.4 ahead of Mark Kelly and Will Atkins at the end of this 18th stage. That last stage then, very decisive. Hugh and Andy Marchbank have looked comfortable back together again in that car all day long, haven't they? Max Bradshaw, Liam Whiteley. A bit of a battle all weekend with Steve Colley and Joseph Dooley for local honours, shall we say, in the C2 class. John Terre, Robert Turton, not far behind them either. Wow, so looking at that then, I'll be careful not to confirm something prematurely, but that does look very good for Hugh Hunter and Andy Marchbank, who take the second fastest time through here, dropping in front of Gary Jennings and Mark Kelly in this final stage. What a time from them. 10:44.1. But it was Jason Pritchard and Phil Clark who, at the final time of asking, you see Steve Simpson and Mark Glenister with the multicoloured front bumper, having had the incident on that Fiesta Rally 2 earlier in the event, last night in fact. It was Jason Pritchard and Phil Clark at the final time of asking who pulled it out of the bag and gave us an absolutely blistering performance through that final stage, a 10:29. 15 seconds clear of Hugh Hunter and Andy Marchbank, who were second fastest through. But that means that they take an overall podium, which for them is fantastic news. They'll be delighted with that. Mark Kelly, Will Atkins, at the end of the day, 5 seconds, just over 5 seconds ahead of Neil Roskell and Rob Fack, who just miss out on the championship podium by that handful of seconds. And at numerous points this weekend, it's looked like it could have gone in either which direction. It's nicely done, wasn't it? John Terre, Robert Turton coming into this third place in the class. Had to have a big push on if they wanted to encroach on Max Bradshaw in second, because there was a 14 or so second gap between the pair of them in that C2 class in the battle of the Mitsubishis. Just hanging on in 20th place overall, John and Robert. And here's a man who has been as entertaining as ever. We love to see the car. Look at that. Sideways around Brandywell, 3 wheels up onto the junction. That's how you do it, Lee. Always puts a smile on your face seeing Lee Edwards through a rally stage in that G3 Escort. And looking around me at the spectators gathered here, I am not the only one. Sam Spencer along for the ride, calling the notes this weekend. I spent most of the weekend looking out of the side window. Third place coming into this stage for Lee and Sam. At the end of the day then, precisely 5 seconds separate the 2 fastest 2-wheel drive cars. Gordon, Montana Morris and Charlotte McDowell in the first of the C3 Escorts. Hugh James, Lewis Sim behind them. At times that gap was less than a second at other times. For most of yesterday in the second leg, it was around 2 seconds or so, 5 seconds at the end of the day. PTUK saying, can't watch this, it's too quiet. A few comments on the sound, there's nothing we can do about that sound. If you have to turn it up on YouTube, I know that the adverts are louder, but that's just YouTube, I'm afraid.
It's not headphones, it's because one channel's on the left and one's on the right. The audio just comes through the left for you.
So you've got a channel on both sides, on the left and the right, and that's where the sound's coming through. If you've only got one channel, then it's going to be quieter for you. We did try and get it working on Facebook, with just no idea why it hasn't. PT UK, I don't know what that means. I don't know what the 10 and 11 meant at all. Possibly so. It was a placeholder. Let's go with that. John Stone, Kirsty Duke then. 14th in the class. And that C1 class, reflecting most of the top 20 leaderboard, has been one of the most competitive and blockbuster we have seen for a lot of years, and we've been doing this for a lot of years as well. Coming into this 18th overall, and that is pretty much where they will stay. Bit of a no man's land either side of them coming into this. Chris Ford, Neil Coleman, you'll see from them soon. They've had a decent fist of things this weekend. Narrowly missing out on the top 20 finish as things stand coming into this final 12.6 miles of the Baldwins, taking in the famous Druidale on one side of the mountain, and where we are right now, the Brandy Royal Cottage on the other side. Oliver Davies, Rhys Edwards, 5th in class for them, 25th overall, but with a big push. Rodney White, Ashley Trimble are just ahead, and it was a 4.9 second gap coming into this final stage, so perhaps something to play for there, but it does sound like Oliver Davies has actually gone off at the top of the hill. Spectators are waving the cars down, calling for the marshals. Steve Colley heads past the famous cottage. Oliver Davies off at the top of the hill then, the spectators flagging the car down. Out of shot for you guys. Can't see what's happened there, but I think just perhaps in a precarious position. I'm not sure. There doesn't look to be enough panic or concern up there. There's anything more serious than that, so I'm sure with a bit of spectator and marshal help, get that car into a safer position. We shouldn't have too many problems. Steve Colley seemed happy with that, winning the class from 16th overall, if indeed that's where it ends up. Wouldn't be a bad end of the day at all. Lee Edwards, Sam Spencer were 12 seconds behind coming into this. Oliver Davies and Rhys Edwards then, if they drop out, it will be to the advantage of Max Murray and Matty Owen, who've had a tough weekend, it's fair to say, on home lanes here on the Isle of Man. 6th in the class from 30th overall. You saw Roger and Tommy Henson. In that brightly liveried Fiesta Rally 2. Yeah, the spectators have stopped flagging people down, and the cars are going at full stage speed again, so Oliver has obviously either got into a safe position or has managed to get going again. We'll find out when we find out whether the time drops in or not. last crew to post the time, 14th fastest at 11:34. Rodney White, Ashley Trimble through in a quite marvellous wide arch sunbeam. Quite a piece of kit. I know you can see just how well it is prepared from a distance. It's one of those cars you just know, and then you get up close and it is some piece of kit, let me tell you. Catherine Nicholl saying she doesn't know what is worse, watching online or being there in person. Of course, daughter Jane Nicholl co-driving for David Wright, and they have been fast this weekend, so it has been, I'm sure, tough to watch at times, Catherine. I'm not sure what's worse. It should be what's better. Should we go with, we don't know what's better, watching in person or watching on the live stream? Great to be able to do this for you all, though, and provide this coverage. Thank you to Protyre and the rest of our sponsors here in the Protyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship. And, of course, to Paul Wakely and Tracy Downs, our championship organisers, who are doing a great job and share our vision for basically cramming as much rally action in as we possibly can, which does mean we're going to miss the celebrations back at the grandstand, which is something we normally get in, but we just thought an extra stage today for some action here at Brandywell Cottage was in order, so that's what we're doing. Alison Toozle enjoying the coverage as well. Great performance from your boys today. Wasn't to be for them, dropping back at the end of the day, this last stage. It hasn't been good for them, has it? There'll be a story there, I'm pretty sure. I'm not sure Sam will be too chuffed with that, but he was fairly happy with his pace earlier on, and he is still learning the ropes in that Rally 2 car. 6th overall for Sam and Max at the end of the day. 7th for David Wright and Jane Nicholl. Richard Hill, Patrick Cooper have had a fast day, leading the historics from 26th overall in that quite stunning RS 1800. Jessica Davies says, can you say hello to my dad? He says he's standing by you. Martin Potts. Hello to Martin Potts. Whoever Martin Potts is. Well, I just looked around me and nobody standing around us looked up with a big smile on the face, Jessica, so maybe he's behind the van. We've got the studio van crammed in here near the road closure. Lee Stanton enjoyed Lee Edwards around that hairpin. Yeah, good, wasn't it? Blandner says great to see Miv Owen and the Hillman Avengers still going. See Mike English. Andy Robinson. Never so close to the yellow post on the gate there, heading past the cottage. Hopefully, Blandnuts, you also enjoyed our little moment with Ian Robertson and Andy Scott and the lovely new build Avenger last on the road through that last stage, and indeed John Parry as well in the Saab 99. Enjoyed doing that, a little bit of rally car nerdery. What else would you want to be doing on a sunny Saturday in the Isle of Man? The weather is due to break, but we do think you can see the mist. I don't know if you can see on the camera, but we can certainly see the mist starting to come in over the mountain here. Usually a sign that the weather's coming. I've been here enough to know that, but I think we'll hang on till the end without the rain. Bradley Carroll, Gareth Short, 7th in class. But they've got to keep an eye on their mirrors on the overall position of 31st. I'm going to bother them for the class position because they've got a fair bit of time in hand for that, but Kevin McLaughlin and Neil Brogan are just behind on the overall leaderboard, if indeed they've been keeping an eye on and are worried about that. I should suspect the class position will be good enough for them this weekend, though. Jessica Davies is supporting Di Roberts. I remember you saying yesterday. Okay, now we were wondering who the lads in the blue hoodies were earlier. We were wondering which team they were with. I suppose we could have wandered down the hill and asked. But sometimes it's a bit of a fun game we have. We see people in rally jackets. Which team are you? Hello to you guys. And do you know what? It's been great to see Di in the car. I don't think I've been on a rally when Di's been competing as a driver. Certainly not for some time. I know it's not that unusual, but great to see him in the little 205. Nathan Bolton and Phil Kenny had a bit of a rough start to things, didn't they? Taking a wheel off the car yesterday, meaning that they effectively super rallied, or did super rally, having taken those maximum times. But the Legend Performance team got them back in the game, and they've come out, and Nathan's been learning the car ever since. And do you know what? He's been having a ball. There's a big grin on his face the entire time as we've gone through here. Still got cars that haven't put a time in the previous stage, actually, as I'm just looking at the timesheet here. There you go. Max Murray, Matty Owen will indeed benefit from Oliver Davies retiring, if indeed he has retired. But I think, no, we haven't got a time through from Oliver yet. Or have we? We have, actually. Oliver's put a time in, I'm pleased to say. So whatever happened up there, it dropped him back to 21st quickest through here. It's not too bad, though. Still leaves him 4th in the class as things stand, but we've still got a few times to drop in, haven't we? And as I say that, Josh Rutledge has just sent me a picture from the motorway of mine and Julia Perry's Green Tiger, our Spark Developments Mini from November last year at Cadwell, which David Burden will be competing in for the first round of the Mini Rally Challenge. Tomorrow you'll be able to catch coverage of that here on a special stage. He said, looks familiar. Oh yeah, I love that car. Good luck, David, and the rest of the Mini Rally Challenge competitors tomorrow. Obviously, I wish I was out there. As you see, Kevin McLaughlin and Neil Martin Brogan leading that C8 class, and fairly convincingly as well. Nearest competitor to them, Alex Kirkwillie, Sasha Herriot, back in, where are they? 42nd overall. No problems there at all. There's Richard Clues with Carl Williamson alongside in the Subaru that the legendary Manx driver Mark Higgins drove on Rally Ceredigion last year. Didn't get very far in it, granted, but still sports the Dirtfish livery. Good to see the car back out, and Richard was telling us earlier that it is a very different Subaru to drive than the one he's used to. Nevertheless, was enjoying himself, and I've quite enjoyed the humorous social media posts from Carl as well over the weekend from service. They'll be 5th in the class. A fair old gap either side of them. From 27th overall, as long as they make it through this stage. George Collister, Ian Postlethwaite have had, well, a bit of a rough run themselves this morning. A bit of damage on that car, but he was still smiling. A big grin on his face when he pulled into the stage at Dog Mills with us earlier, and he didn't mind that he had a bit of bent bodywork to fix. Just been throwing the BMWs. It was Kex Walker and Danny Matthews who first came out and showed us what an E30 BMW should do on these lanes, and it seems to have become the preserve of Manx rally drivers since then to do the same. There's quite a lot of E30 BMWs being built and run on this island, and all driven well. Don't forget, if you have got involved in our coverage this weekend, either on Facebook, on YouTube, on specialstage.tv. If you've commented with whatever at all, you'll be in the draw to win one of our Rallying is Life Lombard RAC Rally themed hats. As you see, Alan Wellesby, Dan Parsons' interview. Enjoyed the road rally parts of the stages last night. Settled in quite early and just enjoyed their adventure, really. Sad to see Anthony Allery retire, because he told us last night that this was quite likely his last ever rally. So we wanted to see him take the finish back at the grandstand in Douglas. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be. It was nearly Bath. Very disappointing for them. But I hope he's in their last rally, but I understand that everybody's time comes. Hello to my friend Rhett Watson watching from Barbados. I've got your hat in my bag here. Had it on earlier. That hat has done a tour with me here in British rallying since Rally Barbados last year. Sean Kelly, Jack Corlett, 8th in class. Gotta just keep an eye out behind them, though. As far as the overall positions are concerned, Chris Simmons and Fraser Moss have been fast in that Darien, and they're just 2 seconds back overall, but the 8th in class is safe at least. I am looking forward to VCIC Rally Barbados. Can't wait to be back there. I remember Nigel Worswick saying to me that once you go, you become part of the furniture and part of the family. This is my favourite place in the world to come rallying, but Barbados is, I reckon after year 2, will be a very close second. Fabulous event. And we've got George Sherman and Claire Mole, who you'll see shortly as well, competing here. Getting used to these Manx lanes, the American. He will also be at BCIC Rally Barbados. Here's Gary Lees. Sarah Jane Cool alongside, a little bit of damage on the left corner of that S2000 Skoda. After that incident that you saw Dave Berry capture that we put on the fan cam at the beginning of this live coverage, thumping the bank. Luckily not hard enough to have an impact on their rally. You see what I did there. But enough to give them a bit of a scare, and we spoke to them earlier at the end of Dog Mills, and they told us about it, but as I say, you couldn't see enough damage to figure out what had happened. Dan Elmore, Autoblast Metro 6R4, watching from sunny Lincoln. Is it as sunny as the Isle of Man, though? Danny Murdoch, hello to you. Ainsley Cooper, watching over the last 2 days from Staffordshire. Neil James says, I must be the only person who doesn't know Potts. Well, I see lots of faces. Normally they've got helmets on, and I'm stuck out here most of the time, so... we got there in the end, didn't we? Romet Jurgensen then won the Carlisle Stages Rally. If you haven't caught up with the coverage yet, sorry for the spoiler. You can watch that again on our Special Stage social media. Tune in with Phil Bramwell for all the action. There was some good action, particularly in this afternoon stage. Hellish dusty over there, though. Fair play to Phil and Jamie Ganley, our cameraman, covering the action for us, because it is not easy when it is that dusty. There's only one thing worse than rain by the side of a rally stage. Well, actually, one thing worse than wind and rain, and that's dust. Because when it's that dusty, I remember the Somerset stages one year, we had cameras that failed. I mean, I remember Wayne having to strip cameras down and get them all sent off for servicing after that rally, but it was so dusty, and that orange dust from Somerset just stayed on things and gave you an orange glow for weeks to come. So fair play to Phil for a great job today from the other Special Stage team. He'll be back tomorrow with Luke and Sam Leonard, who have jumped on the ferry over to Anglesey from the Isle of Man, leaving Wayne and myself here on the island. 3 rallies and 3 lots of live coverage over as many days. It has been an epic weekend, and we know from what you've said that you've all enjoyed living it with us on the live coverage as well, so thank you for that. Richard Slinger, Mark Twynham have got to grips with that Mark II Escort, haven't they? Switching from the 4-wheel drive of the Evo 6 that we've seen them in most recently in the Protyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship into that Mark II. A very different beast to get used to, but get used to it they have, just outside the top 10 in the class. And a fairway up ahead to Andrew Bird and Richard Pullen in that 10th spot. Actually, not too far, given that they're getting used to a new car, but certainly too far to exact any kind of attack in this stage. And here is Mr. Bird. I have loved seeing that car this weekend. There's something about that colour scheme and the prep on that car just reminds me of Escorts I used to watch on single venues as a kid. It's just got that look about it, hasn't it? With the big Revolution wheels under the arches and the white and yellow striped offset colour scheme. Love it. Good performance from them this weekend as well to take. As long as it gets to the end, I've got to be careful to caveat that with anything I say here. The top 10 in what has been a heavily contested and very competitive C3 class. Hello to Jeffrey Goddard as well. We've been chatting over the last couple of days. We did chat to George and Claire earlier on. You've been watching the Carlisle stages already this morning, haven't you? Another competitor from Barbados. Good to have some of the Bayesian crews tuning in, joining in and watching what is an epic rally. Honestly, if you guys are going to come across and do a rally, do the Manx. Come over and join us for a round of the Protyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship, because this is just something else. This rally has always been special. It's a rally you grow up revering and wanting to be a part of. And when you've done it, well, it's very hard to put down. Put it down I did, though, for a number of years when I didn't present this coverage. So it's been nice to get back to covering it. Last few years, a couple of years ago was my first time in the Isle of Man for 10 years. First trip out here was 16 years ago when I picked up my first rally car, which was one of the Borum built Ford KA Challenge cars, the one that Simon Major won the KA Challenge in, actually. Paul Alexander had it after that, and then a lovely man called Reg Berry, who runs I think he still runs a hotel with his wife Pam. Port St Mary, lovely stuff. Mark Holmes switching from his Metro 6R4 back into that glorious Mark 1. And nice and sideways around the cottage at Brandywell. Such an iconic piece of rally stage. The trip I made over here in 2009 to pick up that Ford KA, though, didn't end well. Driving it back, opting not to use the trailer because I was excited and I bought my rally car. Blew its engine up on the way back on the Ouse Bridge near Gaul. Got almost home and ended up having to get rescued. Funny that history would repeat itself all those years on, but the less said about that, the better. Here we go then, Chris Simmons. Fraser Moss alongside. In that Darien T90 GTR. What an amazing sounding car that is. Millington engine in the back. Hewland gearbox, which has been in bits in the service area. The dog ring went on, I think it was second or third gear, and it got reground in the service area. Lots of skill in a rally service area, let me tell you. And they put it back on the 6th gear. I started to lose, I think it was first earlier on today in Dog Mills, and they were just going to nurse it through after that. But such a cool car. I had to sit in that car before the rally, and I would love one of those on the road. I've got a Clan Crusader, which is, I suppose, the next best thing. Not quite as quick as a Millington engine to Darien, no, but it's 875cc Hillman Imp Sport engine in the back. Need to get that out and do some stuff in that this year. Again, Martin Jones, Leon Tractor Williams, second in the class. Alan Wellesby, Danny Parsons, a little way up the road, taking that class victory this weekend. Just over 50 seconds, the gap between the pair. Martin never seems as happy as he is inside, but I'm always pretty sure. I've always been convinced that he's happy in there somewhere. Never happier, actually, than when he is nursing problems on the car and having to do mad things just to get to the end of the stage. For example, probably about 13 years ago, maybe?
12 years ago?
He broke his suspension, the steering arm completely snapped, and he ratchet strapped the suspension together underneath. I mean, the car was barely steering. He was having to steer it from the rear, which if you've seen our viral video of Martin here in the Isle of Man, you'll know he's quite adept at doing. This weekend, though, or today at least, through Dog Mills, he'd have to hold third gear in, just wouldn't stay in third gear. And he just shrugged and said, well, yeah, just had to hold it in. Just brilliant. John Morgan, Linus Jones, Edwards, fast weekend for them, winning the class. That historic class, AH3. Jeff Roberts, Ben Wild, a little way further back on the order, so a convincing performance from John Morgan. Was slightly lamenting earlier just how fast Richard Hill and Patrick Cooper had been to take the overall historic win here, but yeah, if you are just one position back in the historics from Richard Hill, I think you'd take that. He knows his way around these roads. Strictly Grey on YouTube says, morning from Brazil. On their travels, found a nice little spot with good Wi-Fi in Brazil to have a Saturday's rest to watch the plethora of rallying the team has provided. Cheers to all involved. Hey, Wayne, a plethora of rallying. That's a good word, isn't it? I like that. We're going to use that word more. I haven't heard that word for a long time. It has been a bit of a day for Carl Casement and Martin Burns in that C2, although not quite as dramatic as it looked. Look, they found their bumper. It came off in the water splash through the first stage of the day, and they didn't even know it come off when they came through Dog Mills in the stage end when we spoke to them earlier. And I said to him, hopefully that's not quite as dramatic as it looks. And he looked at me a little bit vacant and said, oh, it's been fairly dramatic in here. I said, no, the bumper. He went, what's wrong with it? I said, well, I don't know where it is. It's left the car. So clearly it wasn't as dramatic as it looked. Rhett, can't wait to have you back in Barbados, Paul. This year will be even better. I don't doubt it. I'm looking forward to being there. And I'm looking forward to my first roti. Is it bad that I'm looking forward to food? I've never done anything like it. Shafet, here I come. Thanks, mate. I appreciate that. Joel Cooper, enjoying the coverage today, watching in Chatham in Kent. Honestly, though, Strictly Grey. I love YouTube names. Never gets the prize for the furthest travelled. Watching in Brazil, having found a little spot with Wi-Fi to watch special stage in Brazil. Producer Wayne is giving a very impressed little nod there. And if you know as well as I do, you know that those impressed nods take a bit of getting. That's quite an achievement, that is. So we're impressed by that. Well done. Tell us your name so we know who we're talking to. Luke Constantine has had a very good day out there, hasn't he? Ivan Devine doing a great job on the notes. Third place in the class. 2.1 seconds behind Alex Kirk-Willie and Sasha Herriot in the Corsa Super 1600 kit car. So the fight on. One of the battles we still have going into this last stage, and Luke will be giving it one heck of a push. You'll have seen the colourful moment when he came through the stage end at Dog Mills earlier, and it was colourful, and we enjoyed it. Maybe some would say that the language should be toned down, but it's only when the emotions are running high. And if we didn't want that, we'd interview them back in service after they'd composed themselves and done a 20-mile road section, and that wouldn't be half as fun, would it? But Luke Constantine has really got to grips. First night stage ever last night here in the Isle of Man. Here is the Corsa that he will be waiting for the time through at the end of this stage. So 2.1 seconds. Let's keep an eye on this going through this last stage. Third in the class for Luke and Ivan. Alex and Sasha currently second in the class. And you have to go a fair way up the order to find the class winner, Kevin McLaughlin, with Neil Brogan alongside. Let's just wait for these times to drop in. I like having a bit of a battle at this end of the day. goodness me, the sound of rally cars and the sight of these winding roads around the mountain here on the famous Isle of Man. What a privilege it is to get to tell these stories. Can't say that enough. Oh, we've got another entry in for furthest travelled, actually. Sebastian Turner, thanks for the great coverage. Been watching from Hong Kong. 12 years since I last rallied on the Isle of Man. Well, do you know what? It's a long time, but at least you got to do it, because what a thing to have done. Our cameraman, Jamie McTavish, is somewhere in Hong Kong. Probably been arrested by now, to be fair.
Another one off, whoever went off.
Another car off at the top of the hill. We can't quite see what's gone on there. Again, not too much hustle and bustle from the spectators, so let's just wait for those times to come in from the two C8 kit cars. Fair way to the end of the stage from here. So where's further from the Isle of Man? Hong Kong or Brazil? What do you reckon, Wayne?
Don't know.
I'm going to say Hong Kong. So when I get a gap in the action, I'm going to check. We need to know who's furthest travel, don't we? Neil Jones, Alan Thomas, Will, barring natural disaster, finished third in class. 47th on the overall leaderboard in that escort. Still waiting for these times to drop in, and then I will do a route planner and see where's close to Hong Kong. I'm going to do it now. All right, Hong Kong. Producer Way. I daren't look round. I daren't look round at the camera position because he'll be shaking his head at me. It's got to that time of the day when... right, okay, so Hong Kong is... Click directions. I bet I'm the only person on the Isle of Man searching for directions to Hong Kong right now. A route can't be shown because of a problem connecting to the server. Are you kidding me? I've got live rallying on my screen and I can't get directions to Hong Kong. Right, someone do it for me, because I can't do it. Harry Stubbs, Emma Clark alongside in a car which looks like a road rally car. I mistook it for a road rally car with its black leather cloth roof. Looks like a diminutive Mark II Escort gear, doesn't it? It looks like it should have a black plastic grille and square headlamps. It doesn't. It is a formidable piece of machinery under there. It's just kept the leather cloth roof, which I think is fab. Really cool. But there's a lot of technology going on there. You can see where they've thumped the bank in that video that we played at the start of the live show. So come on, Sebastian, we need to know whether Hong Kong, if you've got some good coverage and a little place you found in Hong Kong, tell us where's closer to the Isle of Man, Hong Kong or Brazil. There's a lot riding on this. Get the prize for the furthest travelled. Unless we get any late entries, of course. We will accept late entries for this. Mind you, Brett Watson and Jeffrey Goddard are far enough, aren't they, over in beautiful Barbados. Still waiting for these times as Mark Constantine comes into view. A bit of family rivalry this weekend, haven't there, which has been fun between the Constantines. No, we're up to Nathan Bolton for times. Nathan does take 19th overall, a top 20 position given the issues he had yesterday, taking the wheel off the front of that car. Yeah, top 20 in the class. I think he'll be fairly satisfied with that. Mark Holmes takes first in the AH2 historic class then. And still waiting for times from the others. So if you had a helicopter right now, you'd just see cars snaking around this glorious island and right around the mountain complex. It would be quite a sight to behold, actually. Chris Woodhouse, Lucy Wilding have slowly been, by their own admission, slowly getting used to the car, not putting any pressure on themselves, enjoying the process. And Brad Cole, another Rally 2 driver who has got to grips ever so quickly with his. I enjoyed the moment. I hope you guys did as well last night. Just checking where Brad and Jamie finished up. 11th overall. That's not bad at all. 8 seconds off the top 10 of the second fastest two-wheel drive car. So, interestingly, Brad and Jamie, and Neville Cole was telling us this before the start of the live show, we're told 3 rallies in, and you'll still be wishing you were in the Escort, because frankly you will go faster in the Escort. A Rally 2 car is not a ticket to the podium. We've seen that, and that's okay for some people, but Brad wants a ticket to the podium, and he's working very hard at it. So 3 rallies in, he's now on the pace of the C3 Escorts. It used to be the B13 Escorts of last year's class structure that he would have been fighting against in his old Escort, the one he had the big accident in last year. And at times he's been quicker than them this weekend, so it's got to that tipping point. He's now going to build the pace. So he's a bit of a step or two on from Chris and Lucy in their Rally 2 Fiesta. But last night, when we were at Ballador, I loved the moment when, first of all, Brad came through and I asked him the customary question. What's the plan? How's it going? He said, you always ask me what's the plan, and the plan is the same. I'm like, I'm still going to ask you until I get the answer I want, which is, I'm now ready, I'm here, I'm going to be fighting. And so he came through the second time, through stage 8 last night, and he went, right, that's it, I've changed my mind, I'm having it. And from that moment on, he did have it. And he picked up the pace almost immediately. There was a distinct change in pace. And that was fab. I enjoyed that. It was one of those little moments that I'll be talking to him about. We're having dinner with him later. And we'll be talking about that over dinner, because little moments like that stick in your mind, and it did make me laugh. Still waiting. I still haven't managed to get a route planner to Hong Kong either, to see whether we're closer to Hong Kong or Brazil from here, to hand out the furthest travelled prize. It's brownie points that you get, by the way. There's no real prize. The prize is for getting involved, so you're all in the draw for that. And no matter where you're from, actually, Wayne doesn't look, he just does a random draw, so wherever you are, you could be winning one of these hats. I just want to see what's happened. I haven't got the times through yet for the C8 class, car and R2. We seem to have lost Luke Constantine from the results. Oh, have we? No, we haven't. What am I talking about? A time through then, a 12:21.9 from Luke Constantine, showing him as second in the class, but of course that is not taken into account the fact we haven't got a time yet from Alex Kirk-Willie and Sasha Herriot. I'm refreshing my... we're 2 times away, so we're not far. Ray Watson, Barbados is not as far as Brazil or Hong Kong, but it's got better rum. Yeah, I would agree with that. I would agree with that. You can quite go for a glass of cold Mike's Bajan rum. Sat here by the side of the stage at Randywell Cottage, unfortunately. It's like John Aston doing his very best job at the Kielder Forest stages just after Barbados last year. That sort of stuff doesn't happen over here quite as much. Might be a break in the action in a minute while I raid producer Wayne's fridge to see what rum or beer he's got in there. Usually when Phil Bramwell's been in there is some rum to be had. Do you remember that, when the fridge was full of rum? It was really random, wasn't it?
We got beers.
We got beers, that's good. But the look he gave me wasn't, we got beers, I'm going to hand you one. It was just, we've got beers. He was just getting involved in the chat. Graham Muter, Russell Joseph, strong weekend from them. 6th in the class, in that C8 class. Right, we must be getting some times here. We've still not got the time for Alex Kirk-Willie. It's teasing me, so I can't give you the... Luke Constantine, Ivan Devine still showing a second. That Corsa kit car hasn't quite made it as far as the finish of the stage, or if it has, we haven't got the timing yet. Sebastian Turner agrees on the run thing. Sebastian Turner, Isle of Man, Brazil, 5,315 miles. Come on then, let's do Hong Kong. I literally can't do it. I don't know if Wayne's blocked me from doing that. Oh no, okay. 6,023 miles away. So Hong Kong is further. I said Hong Kong, didn't I? Actually, you didn't commit, so that was no fun. Wayne wasn't playing the game. Didn't let me have my fun there. Hakan Jacobsen, hello to you. He was on the Isle of Man. In 2007, won the N3 class. Had a big crash in 2008. Do you remember that? Long way to come from Sweden as well. Got great memories, I'm sure, of these lanes. I still have not got this C8 class result in. Or have I? I must spend half my life, you know, more than half my life, refreshing feed and waiting for times to drop in. I'm not sure what that means. I haven't got any conclusion to draw from that. It's just an observation. I'm not sure. One day when I hang up my hat and I do a Steve Ryder and retire from this career, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with my fingers when they're not refreshing results feeds. Don't answer that, actually. Seem to have lost the Corsa of Alex Kirk-Willie and Sasha Herriott altogether, which is a bit odd. It's just disappeared into the ether. I know that sounds weird. Another thing you need to know about me. I overthink these things. Where have they gone? It was looking like a great battle, and then Alex Kirk-Willie and Sasha Herriott got, I don't know, zapped up by the aliens or something. Because they've just disappeared off the score sheets. It must be an anomaly. They'll come back soon. They'll just appear back on the... has Darren Atkinson come through yet? No, he hasn't come through all weekend, actually. We do miss him. He's not here this season. But, you know, runner-up spot in the championship win. It's taken a year out. I don't know that. Tommy Maxwell, Sam McMullen have had a lot of fun in that McRae liveried rear-wheel drive Focus. And do you know what? Up close, that is one of those cars that surprises you with how well prepared it is. It is a work of art inside. The dashboard is kind of like WRC plus. They've come 7th in the class. They're only 4 seconds adrift of the next place on the overall leaderboard, which is Michael Savino and Liam McCann in the Peugeot 205. But as far as the class is concerned, as long as they get to the finish of this stage, and that is all not guaranteed, is it? They'll have done what they need to do. Gary Lees, Sarah Jane Cool then bring the Fabia home in 18th position in the class, that is, in the C1 class. Still no time, in fact no appearance whatsoever from Alex and Sasha. I mean, I would like to, I don't think even if they had retired between now and the end of the stage, I don't think they would have appeared on the retirements list as quick as it's taken for them to disappear from the leaderboard. Which leads me to hope that we are just waiting for the time to drop in. Nothing more sinister than that. Chris Simmons, Fraser Moss come home 11th in the class, 41st overall in that fire-breathing Darien. Here comes our American driver and one of the most successful works co-drivers of our generation, Claire Mole alongside George Sherman, swapping the lanes of Barbados for the undulating twists and turns of the Isle of Man for the Proflex Manx Rally. Great to have George and Claire over here. Looking forward to seeing them at BCIC Rally Barbados. And I'll tell you what, if you need to raise your eyebrows, look at Claire's rally CV. Because it is ferocious. So I'm wondering if we have lost Alex and Sasha. Lovely touch on the horn for Michael Taylor and Andrew Holmes. Bit of appreciation for the fans and the marshals here. Also in the C8 class. Unless they take 22 seconds out of Peter Harrison and Nigel Morris up ahead, they'll bring that C2 home in 8th. From 63rd on the overall leaderboard. Dave Cram thinks that Alex Kirk-Willie and Sasha Herriot were one of the crews that went off at the top of the hill. I don't think they were.
I think that was before then, but...
Like you, I've got a horrible feeling. They're just not on this leaderboard I have in front of me at all. Let's have a look. Oh, do you know what? They did. They retired on this last stage. Take nothing away from Luke Constantine and Ivan Duvine, because they've earned it, but they have been at last minute gifted at second place. I say gifted, there was a fight to be had, just 2.1 seconds in it, and I know the fight was in them. But Alex Kirk-Willie and Sasha Herriot retire on this final stage, robbing us of that battle. They gave me something to talk about for a while, didn't it? Hakan Jacobson says it's the best tarmac rally in the world. Say hi to Nigel Cannell, the local hero. This stage was called Little London when I was there. Little London is still this stage, but it's a slightly different working of this stage. So it uses Blandywell and Druidale, but it uses a bit more of the mountain. I think Wayne knows these things better than I do. What's Little London compared to this? You see George Hayway past in the AE86 Corolla.
When they go down the hill towards...
Oh, that's right. Yeah, they go down towards Sartfield hairpin. So Little London is still run, although they do give them different names these days. Little London was the international name for the stage. George Hayway has enjoyed his time here this weekend in that AE86 Corolla. The 4AGE engine in that car was designed around the BDA, believe it or not. So the layout of the car and the engine design, the power, the limited slip diff, it was all designed to be basically a more modern Escort. An RS 1600 in modern clothes. And they were Japanese rockets. And they've been very successful in rallying. Steve Harkness has a very nice one indeed. There have been some big names in the AE86s over the years as well, haven't there? Per Eklund. Penty? Did Penty drive? No, it was Per Eklund, wasn't it, in the AE86. Atlas Workshops watching from Sweden. Hello to you. Hello to some Scottish lad as well. So Dave Cram, you were right. Alex and Sasha went off somewhere in this stage. Certainly retired in this stage anyway. Peugeot 106. Absolutely screams, doesn't it? Peter Harrison, Nigel Morris will bring that car home in 7th position, just ahead of Michael Taylor and Andrew Holmes. 22 seconds behind them. George Hayway, Tim Curry then in that lovely Toyota Corolla will come home 5th in Class C6. A few comments on the YouTube stream about the overall leaderboard, so here's a rundown of that. Gary Jennings, Rory Kennedy come back to the Isle of Man after a 20-year hiatus, taking a convincing victory with a lead of 38.7 seconds after 118 stage miles and 18 stages on this incredible island. What a performance from the Irishman. Jason Pritchard, Phil Clark got on the pace very, very quickly indeed this weekend. As I see David and Grace Henley, nicely done. They will have enjoyed that moment. I'll check on their progress as they get to the end of the stage in just a moment. We'll continue with the overall leaderboard. Jason Pritchard, Phil Clark in the Yaris, 38.7 seconds back in second place. Hugh Hunter, Andy Marchbank, a podium overall from them. It almost came from nowhere, but that pace, we said it a few times, was there yesterday, and they just gelled in the car. As Hugh said earlier, in a most respectful manner, honestly, he said it was like putting on an old pair of slippers getting in the car with Andy Marchbank. And as I said, Andy has heard much worse. But do you know what? An old pair of slippers, it might be. It has been a successful old pair of slippers. The kind that you don't want to take off, because we've seen Hugh back to almost his best this weekend to take an overall podium on merit, climbing back up the leaderboard, passing names like David Wright, Sam Touzle, Neil Roskell, Mark Kelly to claw his way onto a podium. But that doesn't conclude things for the podium, because the championship podium starts with Jason Pritchard and Phil Clark. Gary Jennings, Rory Kennedy not registered for championship points, which means that Jason Pritchard takes maximum points away from this round. Hugh Hunter, Andy Marchbank take the points for second, with Mark Kelly and Will Atkins the points for third place. A championship podium in the polo, and one that will be celebrated, because at times they were fastest of all, but not overall when it counted this weekend. Weekend to build on. Mark and Will. Neil Roskell, Rob Fagg will just be wondering what happened in the middle part of this rally. Just lost a little bit of something, and Neil couldn't quite put his finger on it. Dropping back to 5th overall, 4th in our championship cruise. A run to damage limitation in the end for the ND Civils man, who came here quietly, privately perhaps, hoping of something a little more than that. Sam Touzle, Max Freeman were looking like getting more than that. They've dropped down to 6th place after leading the rally to begin with. Very convincing and close second to Gary Jennings for much of the day. Behind them, David Wright, Jane Nicol. Good performance from them. Again, fastest stage times, a lot of fastest stage times being swapped among our top 8 or 9 crews this weekend. Gareth Mimner, Barry McCartney behind them in 8th place. The Irishman, followed by the second Irish crew, or third Irish crew, because the first one won the rally, of Ryan Loughran and Gareth Doherty in a pair of Rally 2 Fiestas. And rounding out the top 10, former champion in the series, Steve Wood, with Kenny Hull alongside and not far behind him. The two fastest two-wheel drive cars, Gordon Montana Morrison and Hugh James in the C3 Escorts. What a leaderboard, what a battle we have seen. And not far off those battles were Brad Cole and Jamie Vaughan, who are getting up to speed very quickly now in that HSL Rally 2 Fiesta. You will see more from them in the coming rallies. That I am convinced. But congratulations to Gary Jennings and Rory Kennedy on overall victory of the 2025 Proflex Manx Rally, and to Jason Pritchard and Phil Clark for winning the Protyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship second round here on the Manx. Two stunning performances and two very entertaining drives which have kept us on our toes over the last couple of days. We still have some crews left in this final stage, the 18th stage, the Baldwin stage, taking in possibly the most famous parts of Rally Island, Druidale and Brandywell Cottage. So we'll stay with the action as we bring you the final miles as the sun leaves us, the mist creeps in, and the weather surely is ready to come in over the mountain here on the Isle of Man. It might be wet celebrations later, but celebrations it will be. Another successful Manx, one of the most competitive entries we've seen for a lot of years, and well, it has delivered. And we thought it might, you know. We thought it might deliver, and it has. We just love rallies where you can't tell what's going to happen next. I'll, excuse me, a little radio silence while I just plug in a battery pack. We've used a fair amount of batteries this weekend between us on special stakes, haven't we? A bit of teamwork between Wayne and myself, and I'll just have to shift my position to plug myself in. There we go. Back with you. Mark says afternoon from a very cloudy northern England. I'm going back to northern England tomorrow night. A plane to Manchester. And then a train actually to Lincolnshire from there. After this then, we go on to the border competitions. Jim Clark Rally, another iconic British rally, and one which it is always a privilege to be at and to be covering, the 23rd to the 24th of May. The Dunoon presents Argyle Rally, then comes your way the month after, 20th to the 21st of June in the Protyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship. The Down Rally is up next on the 19th of July. Over to Northern Ireland once again. Missed our trip to Northern Ireland as it leapfrogs a year last year. The rally didn't run in 2024. Back this year, we're looking forward to that. Always a warm welcome over there as well. The Hills Ford Stages then up next on the 13th to the 14th of September. And then we head to the final round. Will it be a championship showdown on the place that has made plenty of champions over the years, not least our 6-time champion, Damien Cole, who has been very successful over Epping, and our 3-time champion, Jason Pritchard, who wins his second round of the championship, the supercharger on Kevin Jeffrey's R53 Mini Cooper S, whining its head off through this Brandywell Cottage stage. It's had a fair bit to contend with over the weekend as well, hasn't it? 2 retirements, and yet they're still going. 7 rounds then making up the 2025 Protyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship. This second round is always one of the big highlights of the year, isn't it? George Sherman, Claire Mole then come home 20th in the hotly contested C1 class in that Rally 2 Fiesta. Lee Pratt, Ben Forrester there in the Civic. They will bring that car home in 9th place in the C8 class. Graham Muter, Russell Joseph just a little too far up the road. In fact, a long way up the road. Great looking car, that green Civic. And in fact, there have been quite a few Civics out on this year's rally. And if you haven't recently, I know I mentioned this a fair bit, but do check out the Brandywell Cottage video of Mark Higgins in the Civic in the, God, it must be the 1993 Manx rally. Back in the early 90s anyway. Reese Rally, has Miv Owens been through yet? No, he hasn't been through yet. You'll know as I'll talk about it, because there'll be a yellow Avenger out there and I won't be able to not talk about it. In fact, it didn't come through when I had my back turned, did it, Wayne? No. Edward Collins, Luke Palmer in a very smart Honda Civic. if you haven't checked out Joe Merrill's stage interview with us last night when I asked him how his first night stage had gone, and he told us it was dark. That was it. It's dark, he says. Then I will clip that and post that on social media this evening because it was absolutely hilarious. Had us in stitches. We saw reigning Mini Rally Challenge champion as well, Gareth Humphries, through the stage just a little earlier. A mixed bag from him, rolling the car in the stage last night. The Mini Rally Challenge, of course, kicking off tomorrow. And the SMC stages at Anglesey, where you'll be able to join Phil Bramwell and the team for live action from 9 in the morning. Danny Cowell and Phil Boyle have been entertaining as always in that little Samba rally. I asked him earlier what's rarer, the Peugeot 104 or the Talbot Samba. He thinks the 104 is probably rarer, but for him it was always the Talbot Samba. Such a cool looking rally car. Sarah Jane Cool, local co-driver who was in with Gary Lease this year, was in that Talbot Samba last year and had a ball with Danny Cowell.
Pulled over. 134, I think it is. Pulled over.
Got a car pulled over, you can just see John Barry Williams, Thomas Wynne Shakespeare. They've been enjoying their Manx rally so far. It'd be a real shame for them to end it early, so close to the end. 18th in the class coming into this stage. In a bit of a no man's land as well, so fairly safe, but they are out of the car. It doesn't look great, does it? Reese Rally says, approximately when will Miv Owens be coming through? Because I'm going out soon. Oh, I don't know. Soon, but I mean, if I see him, I'll tell him to hurry up. In fact, have we had Miv Owen through, Wayne, in the Yellow Avenger? We haven't,
I think so.
I'm pretty sure we haven't. It should be any time now. There's Jack Edwards with Adam Burkill alongside. They've had a good weekend in that little Nova. Didn't see the Harry Hockley replica Nova today, did we? I'm not sure what happened there. I'll check the retirements list in a minute. 5th in the class, though, for Jack and Adam in the C9 class coming into this. Fairly safe as well in that position. Ian Clare, Catherine Price. Oh no, we're on the retirements list. You know, that little Wolseley Hornet just has no luck. Retired with engine failure last year with Lucy Wilding alongside. Retired on the first day with Ian and Catherine this year. Got it running again. Retired again. Got it running again this morning. And it has retired again. Liam Kelleher, Moy Williams on the retirements list. Ian Robertson, Andy Scott, after we saw them earlier. That's a good job. We did see them earlier and have a bit of a nerd out with that White Avenger because they're not coming back through. Roger Duckworth, Ian Windrest. Water temperature. We did see that the car was very hot, didn't we? Through that last stage. And Aidan Jackson, Jared Gill only have a time for the very first stage of this morning. Nothing after that in that glorious little Nova. Neil Matthews, Dan Petrie, we didn't see them today. Tim Coldfield, Sandham, you saw them on the clips at the beginning of the show. Anthony Allery, Richard Bonnet hit a wall on the first stage this morning on what we're told could be the last rally we see them on. Mel Boyd, Danny Matthews also retiring. Darrell Taylor, Cat Lund as well. Had a crash, damaged the Fiesta Rally 2 quite badly. Damien Cole, Rodri Evans did the first stage this morning, then retired with an electrical failure. Michael Harbour, Cameron Dunn as well. We haven't managed to catch up with them this weekend to see how their first weekend in an R5 has gone, switching from the Escort. I suppose it's pretty academic now, given that they've retired. Chris Berry, Lucy Gutteridge crashed last night. Willonian's Dave Williams retiring in that E30 M3. It's not the most reliable thing, is it, with the gearbox failure? So the retirements have come through thick and fast. It's just a selection of them. Anthony James, Jevons, Margaret Kelly. Good weekend for them in the Fiesta R2, just getting up to speed, but fast-flowing stages today suiting them a lot more than that tight Nadgery technical one that we had to start things off first thing this morning. 14th in the C8 class in the R2. Roger Holder, Yvonne Walton, in that lovely Civic home in 6th place. And there's Andy Darlington with Josh Jones. Sounds fantastic, doesn't it, that Subaru? Anti-lag turned on. Andy Darlington was co-driving for Mick Smith in the very popular Hillman Imp on last year's BCIC Rally Barbados, but jumping into his more familiar surroundings in the driver's seat of that Subaru Impreza, that GC8 car, the import STI lightweight model with its big rear spoiler. Looks the part, doesn't it? Lovely bloke as well, Andy. Right, Miv Owen, Baz Green, should be coming through the stage any time if we haven't seen him. I'm pretty sure we haven't. That should be a yellow. Is that a yellow Avenger, Wayne?
Nope.
I spoke too soon, didn't I? Roger Holder and Yvonne Walton are showing on my results as having a... Oh, no, it's not having a time. They've just got a line in there. That's them, so they haven't finished yet. Here we go. The sight and sound of a yellow Avenger working its way along the mountainside here on the Isle of Man. Reese, here he is. Ah, you've just been working for him at Gideon Cars. I see. Jamie McBain sending me a message of encouragement for how I might have fared if I'd have brought a Mini Cooper S over here to the Manx. Thanks, mate. I'm not so sure. But I could have talked them all to death, couldn't I? I could have won at that. That Avenger is glorious, and it's been driven very well this weekend as well. I hope you enjoyed seeing that through for the last time, Reese. You know, I always wonder, if you just pan the camera around to the cottage way and just show us the speedboat, I always wonder if that speedboat has ever moved. It's like the speedboat from Bully, isn't it? Here's what you could have won on the Manx Rally. Jamie McBain, that is an absolute no. I would never co-drive for anybody on the Manx. This scares the life out of me. Keelan Beattie, Amelia Leach in the Suzuki Swift as my voice starts to go after 2 days of solid talking, pretty much. Poor Wayne's had to listen to it all. You guys have only had the live bits. 11th in the class. At C8 class has been quite hotly contested this weekend, isn't it? They've had a ball, actually. It's gone really well. They've just been getting used to the car, and I love the fact it's in the Suzuki Works team colours. A bit of a nod to Rob Fagg, who, of course, co-drove for James Wozencroft in the Works days. Has been out local man in with Neil Roskell this weekend. Not the best of weekends for them, finishing 6th overall in the end, but having that experience alongside and that knowledge of the lanes will definitely have helped, even if things didn't quite go their way. In the end. Andy and Kim Gray then. Had brake cooling issues earlier on in the day. Having to drive by at the stage end just to get some air into them. Either that or Andy decided that he'd already spoken to me once and that was enough for the weekend. What a place to go rallying, the Isle of Man is. How lucky we've been with the weather as well. We were saying this earlier. Now, weather isn't the most exciting of subject matters to be talking about, but last year we had glorious weather. That sounds more like it, Jamie. That doesn't sound dangerous at all, does it? Me in that 205 on the Isle of Man, goodness me. We had glorious weather here at the Isle of Man, and we've had it again this weekend, which is quite a turnout for the books. Gaffer tape, ahoy. On the front of the Escort, after a slight mishap for Phil Jones and Andrew Richards earlier on in the day. They will, though, if they get through this stage, take 8th in the class. A decent day out on the rock for the pair. Looks like it's got a bull bar or something on the front, doesn't it? Just a glimpse of those 3 downward strands of tape on the front grille. Still a healthy number of spectators on the hillside here at Brandywell, which is nice to see. There's been a real vibe from the moment I arrived on the island here on Thursday night and headed to service. Look at this. What a story for Shane Gamble. Wasn't even sure he'd be here, having to scrabble around to find a co-driver. His first co-driver dropping out. Second co-driver dropping out, all for understandable and unavoidable reasons. And the third one, Michael dropping in. Local driver who finds himself in the opposite seat. And they've had a lot of fun this weekend and will come away from here. And I don't want to jinx him like I possibly did with Alex Kirk-Willie and Sasha Herriott, but we'll come away from here if things go as well as they have done as the AH1 1400 class winners in the historic. Oh, some damage on the front corner of that Evo 6, isn't there? I commented on how immaculate it was earlier as well. Tristan Cooley, Andrew Dudgeon have obviously had some kind of issue there. Came into this stage though, 11th in the C2 class. And we'll just be nursing that car home now. They've got aluminium front wings, haven't they, on those Evo 6s, so it'll be a fairly expensive fix unless he's got a couple hung up in the garage. Just lovely cars to see out rallying though, aren't they? I talked about Neil Weaver's 306 Maxi that he's building for the Roger Albert Clark later this year. Look out for another 306 Maxi, which Jamie McBain from Spark Developments is building. Now, we've seen what he can do with the Peugeot 205, and I have seen firsthand what those boys can do with pretty much any rally car. It's a junior car, a mini rally challenge car, but this 306 Maxi is going to be special. It's going to be a bucket list build for Jamie. Everything he wants to do in a rally car, all in one. Ash Lewandowski, Thomas Henry Ackers have obviously had an issue in that Nova. I don't think they had that damage when we saw them earlier in Dog Mills, so something's happened since then, and the front end of that Nova. Is it damaged or have they just lost the bumper? I can't. Yeah, just lost. Actually, no, there is a bit of damage, I think, on the offside. I don't know. But yeah, look out for that 306 Maxi. I mean, it's a fair way off yet. I don't think the shell's even started prep yet, but these boys do work fast. But I'll tell you what, Jamie, that out here on the Manx would be that would be a rocket ship. Last few cars to come here on the entry, and as you know by now, of us here at Special Stage, we are keen to bring you every single car on the entry. Rin's TV telling us the tape is there because the bonnet is broken. Okay, are we sure? Because the rest of the car at the front looked a little bit second-hand, but I'll take that. Flying Sheep Rally says the speedboat was last taxed in 1917. Eh? I mean, 1, I didn't realise speedboats were taxed. 2, as we see a very poorly sounding R53 Mini of Jack Birch just creeping its way around the Brandywell stage. Junior Mini Rally champion. Sounds like it's got an exhaust issue. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that that boat is newer than 1917. Congratulations to Dominic Hodge, who got first in class on the Carlisle stages in his little micro today. He sent me a message confirming that. Great result. Well done, team. Looking forward to being out with Dominic and the Humphreys of Oxford Motorsport team, with support from Steve Harkness at the Abingdon Rally in June in the micro kit car. I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that I'm a little bit apprehensive about that, but we'll see. Don't look at me like that, Wayne. You won't be there anyway, so there's no chance of me doing anything on live camera this time. No, that speedboat's definitely... Just pan over to the speedboat, Wayne. I know this is not great TV for you, but yeah, it's not a classic. It's definitely newer than 1917.
It's got that number on it. That's why.
Well, I can't see that from here. Well done. Flying Sheep Rally is rolling his eyes at me now. Well, the last car through is not going to be the Avenger of Ian Robertson and Andy Scott, because that has retired very sadly. But here's Mark and Joe Young in the Peugeot 205. Nice story here that you might have heard if you tuned in earlier. I'll tell you it anyway. On the boat on the way over, there were some motorcyclists who took an interest in the 205 GTI parked on the trailer on the rally car. The rally car on the trailer on the ferry, and those same motorcyclists came and helped in service, helped them get the car repaired last night, and then they've now invited them on a return trip to Yorkshire on a bit of a social, all from meeting on the boat on the way over to the Isle of Man to the Manx rally and having a bit of a rally car nerd session. It's a nice story, isn't it? I like that. Tony Webb, Sophie Buckland. One of the cars where we've spoken to both of the crew over the weekend at the stage end. Thanks for Sophie for having a bit of a laugh with us last night when I got the wrong door and then decided I better style it out and get the wrong door on purpose the second time round. Solid weekend for them, 14th in the class. That C8 class that we've spoken so much about. So the AH2 class has been won by Mark Holmes and Mark Perryman. Danny Cowell, Phil Boyle in second place with that glorious Avenger, adding to what is a fantastic array of variety in the class, isn't it? Mark Wynn Escort, Talbot Samba Rally, Hillman Avenger, Miv Owen and Baz Green in third place. As you see, the first of the minis, the second of the minis, we've had Shane through, haven't we? That's Shinobu Kitani and Hiroku Kitani. First came over here in 1989 to the Manx Historic Rally and have been coming back ever since. They look to be bringing that mini home, second place in the AH1 class. Ahead of them, Shane Gamble in the blue mini that we saw through just a few minutes ago. Osamu Sumida Kahai Kusaka, the second of the Japanese crews, coming through in third place. We're yet to see them through the stage though, and Stephen Higgins, Chris Hees have had a bit of a weekend of it, but they have managed to get the car in, the engine in, sorry, into the car yesterday, a new engine in the car. Got out for the second leg of the night stages and have been enjoying themselves today. Fair play, guys, bringing it home at the moment in fourth place in that class. Class AH3, John Morgan, Linus Jones-Edwards in the RS 1800s come home first, ahead of Jeff Roberts and Ben Wild. Tony Shields and Barry Ford in third position. All three Mark II escorts, and David Pedley, Grace Pedley, not far behind, just 8.3 seconds behind the podium positions in fourth in their glorious total liveried Mark II. The AH4 class sees Richard Hill, Patrick Cooper as the only finisher in the class, but they take an overall historic win here on the Manx Rally, with that time well ahead of the rest of the historic field as well. Class C1, we'll come to that because that's the overall leaderboard, of course. C10, Terry Phillips, Mark Lees in the former Golf Challenge car, the Mark III Golf GTI that used to sport the Lucozade colour scheme and came here in that lovely yellow that we remember the Golfs running, a bit like the Works coloured Golfs, wasn't it? Only finisher in C10 this weekend. C2, quite hotly contested. Steve Colley, Joseph Dooley win the local battle between themselves in the Evo 9 and the second similar car of Max Bradshaw and Liam Andrew Whiteley. John Terre, Robert Durton, the Scotsman, coming home in third place. Wayne Sisson just behind them, Richard Clues, Carl Williamson in fifth place. The C3 class, again, a great battle that we saw unfold over the weekend. Gordon, Montana Morrison, Charlotte McDowell in first, Hugh James, Lewis Sim in second, Lee Edwards, Sam Spencer in third, and then just adding to the variety, Talbot Sunbeam of Rodney White, Ashley Trimble in fourth, and Max Murray, Matthew Owen in the DS3 Citroen R3T in fifth in the class. C6 sees Alan Wellesby, Dan Parsons in the Peppermint Green Road Rally Escort, leading the way. Martin Jones, Cleon Tractor Williams in the Nova, the new wide track Nova that Martin hasn't been on tarmac with for some time. We last saw him driving on the Cambrian last year in second place. Neil Jones, Alan Thomas in place. Neil Jones, Alan Thomas in. George Hayway and Tim Curry bring that Toyota Corolla AE86 home in fifth. These are overall positions. Without the championship crews in there, that's where the championship points slot into place, and you'll be able to see a full rundown of the championship finishers and a full story of the championship on the asphaltrallying.com and the Protyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship socials later today from Paul Evans. Kevin McLaughlin, Neil Martin Brogan take the win in C8 from Luke Constantine, Ivan Devine. Great performance from them. Gutted for Alex Kurt-Willie and Sasha Herrick retiring in this final stage. They were on for second place, or at least on for a battle with Luke Constantine for that second place. Carl Casement, Martin Burns bolt the bumper back on the C2 after the water splash earlier and end up in third. Di Roberts, Stephen Christian swapping the navigator's seat, the Road Rally ace, jumping into the driver's seat and taking fourth in the C8 class in the Peugeot 205 GTI. C9, it's a Constantine battle for family honours. Mark Constantine, Andrew Constantine get the bigger silverware this weekend, winning C9 overall, and a convincing victory at that over Connor Bryson and Connor Farmer, the local pair. Andrew Foster, Chloe Percival behind them, and it's all Corsas and Vauxhalls as you go through that leaderboard. But as far as the overall fight for victory here on the 2025 Proflex Manx Rally Round 2 of the Protyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship is concerned, Gary Jennings and Rory Kennedy lead an absolutely blistering Irish charge on this year's rally. The Irish contingent was strong and it was plentiful, but it is won in the end convincingly by Jennings and Kennedy. The first time back here on the Isle of Man for 20 years, and he's made it count. The winner of the Protyre Motorsport UK Asphalt Rally Championship second round, though, in second place overall, is Jason Pritchard and Phil Clark, who we can now quite confidently say have got to grips and are up to speed. I'm smiling to myself because Terry hasn't yet come through in that golf, and I've announced him as winning the class, but I'm sure he'll get to the end now. Jason Pritchard, Phil Clark, a second place that, if they'd had another day, I'm sure they would have been doing something about that. Hugh Hunter, Andy Marchbank come on strong, and they have shown us that partnership is still strong inside the car as well. Like an old pair of slippers, and one that worked very well this weekend. Third place overall, second of the championship crews. Mark Kelly, Will Atkins taking the last spot on the championship podium in fourth overall. Then it's Neil Roskell, Rob Fagg, Sam Toozle, Max Freeman, who started strong, both those pair. And it didn't quite work out for them. In the end, things not going their way, but still strong championship points. Then David Wright, Jane Nichol, Gareth Mimner, Barry McCartney, Ryan Loughran, and Gareth Doherty, and Steve Wood and Kenny Hall rounding out the top 10. Our leading two-wheel drive contenders in the C3 class: Gordon, Montana Morrison, and Hugh James, just outside the top 10. And rounding out what has been some leaderboard. This weekend, and a story which has been a pleasure to bring you here on Special Stage. Yeah, a bit of talk about where the crew is stood with the stripping car up there. The camera is altering perspective slightly. It's not nearly as bad as you think it might look, so don't worry about that. The marshals know what they're doing. Thank you to everyone who's joined us on the live coverage this weekend here on the Manx Rally coverage, and likewise from Phil and the team over in Kielder Forest for the Carlisle stages. They were delighted to have join them as well. An epic weekend of rallying for us here on Special Stage, and it isn't over yet. We've still got some cars left in the stage here at Brandywell Cottage for one thing, but secondly, you can tune in with Phil in the morning at Anglesey for the SMC stages, the final round of the Protyre Circuit Rally Championship, the opening round of the Mini Rally Challenge. Over 30 R50 and R53 minis entered for the Mini Rally Challenge. It is going to be some battle at this first round. I'm looking forward to seeing that unfold. And tune in from the very first stage just after 9 o'clock in the morning with Phil and the team. Plenty more live rally action then to come for your weekend. Phil said it, it's the first mad weekend we've had, Wayne, of the year, but it's not the only one. We do this more than we ever thought we probably would. And I think we should also mention a thank you to Neil Roskell and Rob Fagg for running our trial. Loved being able to ride on board live in that car. We loved it as well. It was a successful trial, and the equipment, the package that Wayne has put together held up and was robust, and should be something that we can put into more of our live coverage very soon. So a big thank you to Roskell Motorsport for supporting us with that, and hopefully they got plenty of exposure out of it. And there's a couple of nice moments if you go back to the footage and have a look through, you'll see some impressive driving from Neil this weekend, and some interesting moments which he wasn't upset about me pointing out to you. I know that Neil and Rob will be disappointed with themselves, but do you know what? We came into this weekend knowing that the Manx Rally has never, since the heady days, if you put nostalgia aside, it has never had an entry quite as competitive as the one that we've seen this weekend. So hold your heads high, because championship points are championship points, and we have got one heck of a championship battle royale to look forward to over the course of this season. Joe Merrill's here coming into the stage, who has missed a one-man answer this weekend. Joe, how was your first night stage? Dark. Joe, what happened on that last stage? Crashed. Did make me laugh. And the second of our Japanese minis there, Osamu Sumida, Kohai Kusaka alongside. Lovely turned out cars. Always great to see them here on the Isle of Man. And if you look back to the stage end from Dog Mills earlier, so much energy inside that car. They were absolutely loving their Manx adventure. There we go. Susan's happy. She's seen the Mini through. And I think that is... Oh no, it's not the last of the minis. You're still going to see Stephen and Chris through in the final historic Mini Cooper race, I believe. Those two cars just coming through this stage. Warren Martin says he loves his minis. He's owned new and old. Me too, actually. And yeah, likewise. We love to see the historic minis out, and the Manx is always good for that. A few local crews, for one thing, that have minis, and then you've got the Japanese crews that come over as well. Rob's Golf has been a sight to behold this weekend, hasn't it? And that BMW has been in the wars, rolling onto its side in the last stage that we were live on through Dog Mills, but getting back onto its wheels and carrying that damage with it till the end. This will be Greg Pye in the Seat Ibiza, running a little bit out of order. Didn't want to stop and talk to us at the stage end earlier on in stage 12, so perhaps that gives us some idea. Here he comes then. Local man round Brandywell Cottage for the last time here on stage 18, 118 miles into the 2025 Manx Rally. It's a lovely sounding car, that. And, we have got a bit of a promise of seeing Gwyndaf Evans Formula 2 say it'll be the kit car out later in the year as well, which we are looking forward to the prospect of. I'm not sure we're going to see that final Mini through the stage, so you might just get a glimpse of the lovely Saab 99, the Per Eklund Stig Blomqvist replica that we saw at the end of that last stage. You heard that? We've got to move. We're going to move so the recovery can get into the stage. But that's it from our coverage